Hi.
Hi, I'm so confused about what's happening in the trustee meeting, but then again, that's the trustee meeting.
Rule 1 of the trustee meeting, don't.
Don't question it.
No, just don't.
Okay. So I think we're good to get started in a minute here. If anyone is looking to join us at the meeting site, you can teleport to Skelly or Sinra or PTLD.
Hold on. What's the thing? Is it TP?
TP Auto.
TP Auto. Yep. Teleport to me if you are media and would like to be at the media spot.
All right.
Off the media spot.
What? Oh yeah,
barrier off the medium spot.
Thank you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anyone watching streams as MBS live?
MBS is live.
Great. All right, we can get started then. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the March 2021 General Staff Meeting, the pre-American Daylight Saving Time switch and pre-Pi Day stream. So, those of you who celebrate Pi Day, have fun with that tomorrow. We have a couple things. Hopefully this will be a fairly short public agenda. It certainly is in terms of number of topics. Looking at the agenda and the stuff that we talked about in private, there was one very small item regarding an internal staff procedure that doesn't concern anybody outside of the staff, so that has been resolved. And then just a heads up to everybody that if you are planning ahead, we're going to be doing some midweek server maintenance on or around March 31st. Frumple, do you have any other details that you want to give?
Nope.
Yeah. So just so everybody knows, so we're going to be doing a little bit of maintenance on or around March 31st. This will affect main Minecraft and beta Minecraft. All other services are unaffected. So more information on that will be forthcoming. Okay, I think that's all we had. I'm going to turn my Minecraft sounds off, and we can go ahead and get started. So we have no previous city reviews, and we have 4 moderator nominations to consider. I received 5 absentee ballots. Senra and Vulp, you guys can cast either the same or different votes. The votes that you cast obviously override the ballot.
Yep.
So that means that we need to actually pull up the correct responses. Oh, and I have, as per usual, randomized the list. And we will do a different random order for each mod candidate. The first candidate up for consideration is Wipeout 111. And the votes are as follows. First up is Vicky, who voted by absentee with a vote of yes. Second vote is AP Red, who voted by absentee with a vote of yes. Third, Yoshi. Number 4 is Kyle, who was absentee. Kyle's a neutral. Cece.
I'm going to vote neutral.
Echo.
I'm going to vote neutral.
Ungens is not here. No absentee, so did not vote. Vulp.
4.
Skelly?
Very weak 4.
Tom is not here. No absentee. Did not vote. Sunra?
4.
Trumple?
4.
This will be a close one.
Dalt?
Neutral.
Mega? Not here. No absentee. And last is Chief, and I'm a yes.
What's the neutral tally?
5 neutrals.
A yes or a no?
I believe this means that at the current tally, he wouldn't be passed.
By
Correct.
how many votes? 1 or 2?
So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
7
6.
for 5 neutral, 0 against.
So so it's 1 neutral is the swing.
Why do you folks vote neutral?
I is there anyone else who wants to speak before I do?
Go ahead, Echo.
I can go after Echo. Whenever.
Go for it, Echo.
I have worries. Wipeout's a nice guy. He's good to interact with. I worry that some of his actions come off as he's campaigning for mod. Basically trying to change his actions to make himself look more like a good candidate.
Is that
If you know what I'm
thing?
saying. Well,
Because I looked through the nomination documents and all of the evidence for and against, and while there were a couple of notable incidents, they were fairly quickly resolved thereafter in an amicable way.
I do have something to say. I did actually chat with Wipeout and just said, yeah, people do have the impression that you do want it. And he did actually say he kind of does. But I don't think that's a bad thing depending on why you want the position. If you want the position for your own gain, then yeah, that's immediately going to be a no from me. But I do think he wants the position to genuinely help people for much the same reason that I was interested in the position when it was given to me.
I think Echo might be wording it a little a little like kind of confusingly. I think what you might say, correct me if I'm wrong, Echo, I think Echo we're talking about possibly kind of past instances of backseat moderation rather than which I think was brought up by I think what Kyle said and some other people said, because I think I agree. I think Wipeout definitely has some strong characteristics that we do look for in a moderator, but I do see that there's some instances kind of a backseat moderator where it does kind of seem in a way kind of like in a campaigning manner, which I don't want to hold against it too much, which is the reason I didn't vote no. I wanted to vote neutral because I think there is a path to grow from here and like kind of basically kind of learn, like maybe give it some time. But I think as of this moment, that's what Echo might be referring to. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
No, that's what I was
that's
responding
pretty much it.
well.
Is this
Yeah,
a
I'm
case
gonna
of
agree there.
Is this a case of just Wipeout trying too hard? That's a way to simplify it a little bit.
I would say it kind of reminds me, if anything, of Alfie Pops, of kind of how they were pushing to get it. Because I think there were some times that Wipeout has stepped too far in the sense of, for example, in the mod nomination channel, he was trying to explain the channel and got it completely wrong, and then you stepped in and told him said exactly what it was.
That's
Or in the sense
misexplaining a channel to someone is not like that. I wouldn't put that in the same category as like the backseat moderation issues that were explicitly brought up in the evidence.
Yeah.
I mean, my thing is, at least for me personally, like my kind of stance on things is talk when you you are confident that it is your place to talk. I don't think it was his place to say what that channel was for, in the sense of if he didn't even know if he's completely wrong, he didn't know what that channel was for. So I don't think he should have said something.
I think that's a bit of a self-defeating way of thinking about it, and I think that mistakenly describing something when you are reasonably assured that you are correct, even though you're not, that's a little bit of a weird thing, and I don't know if we should even consider that.
Oh, for me, that's not like strong on my argument though. Another part of my thing is I do think I agree with Yoshi. There is some parts where I think he is pushing too hard. Every single comment that has been submitted to this GSM Wipeout immediately sent an email to staff to try to respond to immediately. That kind of threw me off too because he submitted his own evidence, which I fine with. Like I brought that point up before about people submitting evidence.
I
know Wipeout personally, and
I don't think.
But not to the point that would influence me.
Personally, I don't think that's much of an issue because we've had other candidates before who did respond also in the same sort of manner. I don't see a problem with people if they see a comment that if a candidate sees a comment, that's within their right to respond.
Yeah, I have no problem against that. I'm completely not against that. I'm fine with Wipeout responding to that. My point is, I do agree with Yoshi though. I do think he is pushing for mod in the sense of in general chat, and it's not like he's been doing this for a while. I don't think it's recent. I think it's been doing it for a while, and I do think there's opportunity for growth. That's why I'm not saying no either.
I will just comment personally. I don't think this is particularly a bad thing, depending on why they're doing it. If this is like out of a genuine desire to help, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Again, something I personally did. I wasn't doing it for mod. I just was trying to help people, and I think maybe that's what Wipeout is doing. I think he is somebody who does enjoy helping other people, even if it boundaries at times.
Hold on. Here's a question I want to pose to everyone. Do you think Wipeout is trying to become mod because he wants to help people, or is it because he wants the powers or the privileges of being mod?
I have no reason to suspect he
I don't know.
powers.
That's the one I don't.
I mean, I don't think that really would justify it. I mean, for example, if someone asked for a nomination because they genuinely wanted to help people, that's still a violation of the rules.
He didn't do that.
I think that it's definitely not like a I want world edit type of situation. I do get the sense that maybe like the title and prestige might be something that Wipeout would enjoy, just because he said with Volpe he would like the position of mod. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's just the way he comes off sometimes. However, that's not why I voted neutral, so I don't want to speak over the people that had that reason.
And I will say, though, that I did actually ask why he was in his position. It does appear to be a genuine desire to help people. He didn't even say he really wanted it. He just said he wouldn't mind it, I think. I can get the actual message. Hold on.
Dalt, can you explain your reasoning?
My reasoning is a little different. I have some concerns over Wipeouts. I'm a little concerned over how Wipeout comes off to other members of staff and not just members, because I know that there's been some backseat moderating, which I don't think is really that. I don't really think it's that much backseat moderating. I don't think it's that big of a deal. However, in the interaction with Kyle, it's no harm, no foul, like Kyle said immediately after. However, if I were trying to do something and Wipeout was butting in and trying to tell me how to moderate something, I feel like that would come off a little. I just don't think it would blend very well if he were to do that. I also think that there was an example during one of the nomination channels, I think it was Needham and N's channel, where he was basically there were staff members present and he said, this conversation needs to stop now. And then he pinged one of the staff members present and said please DM me if you have any concerns, which I thought was overstepping by a significant.
I believe it was Frumple.
It may have been Frumple. So I just think that sometimes what he does is overstepping. And I think that as a staff member to another staff member to overstep like that, I just think that would be kind of disrespectful. Yeah. So that's my concern. I do like Wipeout though, and I think that there's growth available, which is of course why I didn't vote no.
I do remember that incident, Dalton. I think that's a valid concern. Yeah.
Yeah, this is something I know he definitely realizes. I think he probably is trying to work on it.
Okay. I guess at this point, does anyone want to change their vote based on this discussion? Unless there's anything other points people want to make.
I'm trying to look at the Frumple conversation. Yoshi and I actually talked about it last night, and at first I thought that he was just trying to help out, but after reading it more, it seems that it was more about. It seemed that he was more like trying to take some sort of command towards Frumple, so I guess that provides more clarification, and the incident does seem more serious than what it was at first. At first I was for, but I think I'll swap over to neutral now because it was a very weak 4, and I didn't really look at the incident in the Frumple in the needed nomination channel as much as I should have. So with that information in mind, I think I'll swap over from 4 to neutral.
Okay.
That's been recorded.
Just for my sake, I will admit I was a little irked by the conversation because we had me and Wipeout did have DMs after the case, or I did want to talk with him about it. I'm not going to switch my vote though. I still think he would be an addition to the team, but again, I do acknowledge that a lot of the concerns you have brought up are valid, so I'm not going to argue against that.
Yeah, these are absolutely valid concerns. I do think he would be a good addition to the team, although he's certainly not perfect.
So here's a question.
Yeah, well,
Oops, sorry. Go ahead, Chief.
I would say, I mean, no one is perfect, and I would agree that like he certainly had a couple times when he's come off as a little bit coming off a little bit harder, and trying to deal with, I think, understanding when sarcasm is and is not appropriate. I think that's something that that Wipeout, since I know you're here, I would encourage you to continue to work on.
I was going
to. I gotta say, I really appreciate the willingness to run a couple
switch
of
your vote as many times as you want.
You can switch as much as you want until we declare it closed.
Finalized, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say it's. I've also been just really impressed with the community engagement aspect and running both assassins and the events that you're getting start up, and just all the other stuff you're doing. So I'd say you've got a ton of potential. So I'd love to support it, and I think that there's stuff that that you can certainly overcome it. So it's not impossible.
Sorry, I would like to ask, what exactly does Wipeout need to, you just mentioned one of those, Chief, but what else does Wipeout need to work on such that he can be a mod?
Yeah, I think this is where I know that people have talked about, well, if he doesn't wind up going forward today, I think being conscientious of how you come off just in general. So this is where I know that people have brought up concerns about backseat moderating, so I think just the generalizing on that, and my comment of trying to understand how you're being perceived in text chat, especially that's something that I think leaves a lasting impression. So
yeah,
that's the big. I think that's the main thing.
I just want to add on the backseat nomination, and this applies to other candidates as well. Before, what Kyle's comment was, I think, was a pretty good example of crossing the line. It was a little bit over outside your bounds, telling a staff member what they need to do. I mean, we already know what we need to do. It's basically a little rude, essentially.
I'm a bit split on that personally. I think if he'd done it to me, I probably wouldn't have minded as much as I perceived it as a genuine, okay, he's just trying to help. And perhaps probably if I'd have been a new staff member, even if I'd already known, it's okay, thanks for the help. I know I've got this. Probably wouldn't have taken it that much, but it is up to Kyle to how he wants to.
But I guess the question is it Wipeouts or anyone else's job to, it's worth if you want to point out something we're doing wrong, we might be doing wrong. That's fine. But
I don't mind that sort of stuff, because I do think it comes from a place of genuinely trying to help, even if it maybe overstepping the boundaries slightly. As
Chief said, there has to be when you're doing that, there has to be context. Are you actually helping or not? Is this actually,
it's sometimes hard to tell. Like you don't know, like, and oftentimes I don't know I'm fucking something up until somebody tells me I'm fucking something up, and sometimes people just don't tell me these things.
I'm more talking about from Wipeout's perspective because anyone who tries to help a staff, again, the concern seems to be that he's coming off in the wrong way, right?
Yeah.
So
That's the main concern that I would have.
Right.
I just like, for example, in the Kyle situation, it might have been more appropriate or a better way to say, like, just in chat, not to Kyle privately, but just in chat, like, hey, the new member that he didn't recognize, you like, how long have you been member? I don't recognize seeing you around here, or something like that. Just because that would be a better way of getting the information that he actually has been member for a week than just PMing to Kyle. Make sure that this person has been member for a week, assuming that Kyle didn't know to check for that. Or as in like the other conversation, like maybe just like suggesting like, hey everyone, maybe this would be a better conversation to take to DMs than like pinging Frumple and saying this needs to go to DMs now.
Okay. Sorry. I just want to going back to what I was talking about with the backseat moderating though. Like, yeah, Kyle's examples I think is like that's I think a bit too much. But there are other examples that I think some evidence was shown.
How long ago was it?
So
4 months.
There's some more
4
evidence
months, okay.
that I've seen where how must I describe it? No, it's not just for Wipeout, for other cans we've seen before, where people are, because if they're just trying to help in public chat or just pointing out things, I've seen some evidence where people are saying that's backseat moderating, when I don't think it is.
Yeah, I know you've asked that question before about the line of
think-
backseat moderating, and you couldn't really get
Yeah.
like a good response from people.
It seems like there's some confusion of what that is, or it's varied. So
And I think it's even down to the eye of the beholder sort of thing. Like what one person may see as helpful, the others may see as overall like just backseat moderating. It's really hard to tell. Like
I think the line I think the line is, if you're trying to tell a staff what to do, or basically if you're acting like a mod, as if you had the power, I think that's the line.
Yeah.
Like if you're just saying, oh, this, telling if someone's asking a question, you just answer like trying to help them. That's not backseat moderating, in my opinion. That's just being helpful.
Yeah.
So this is more of a reminder to everyone else, honestly, because all the people who submit nominations or feedback, like this is my definition of it. Yours might be a little different, but yeah, like, so some of the evidence I've seen is just, I wouldn't consider it backseat moderating.
One final thing, so if you are split on like a neutral floor, I would encourage you to just give him a chance. He has shown growth in the past, and I think he will continue to do so, whether he's on the staff team or not. And I think it would be a good place to put him.
I think we all are. So I don't think any of us are assuming he's a static person who doesn't change. I think we all take
No, he wouldn't have been nominated if he had no potential for growth.
Yeah, I mean, I was more referring to your comment because I think you're saying, because I think what I'm trying to say is I think we all consider that, I think people can change, which is why I think a lot of us voted neutral, not against. Because I think a lot of us here think that Wipeout has the qualities that we're looking for, but there are just a few things that I think would need to sit for even as little just for a month or two before I think we'd be comfortable moving forward. But I think he's a strong candidate with potential. I just think that there are these issues that need to be brought up. I think that that now that we've brought them up, I think Wipeout at least knows like that they're on the open, therefore can act accordingly. I think there's potential, and I don't think any of us are ruling him out. But I just think for this at this time, I don't think it's the right time yet.
Sorry, just asked that, Skelly, did you change your vote back to 4 at all?
Yes,
Yeah.
I changed back to 4.
So we're back to one.
Also,
We're back to 77503.
Correct.
Okay. Would anyone else like to change their vote? Otherwise, I think we're pretty ready to finalize this.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Yoshi in the sense of I do have hope in Wipeout. I think he can get there. I'm just not comfortable right now changing to a 4 vote. Volpid literally asked me to change, and I'm not going to change my vote yet. I'm not in that place to really.
Yeah. Okay.
Really
I'm gonna keep my vote, but I think that Wipeout is a strong candidate, and I think as soon as like the next GSM or two would be a good time to reconsider.
Yeah, Imperial, that's a
Mhm.
rejected.
Okay.
Okay.
Votes
Final
going.
vote 7. Vote finalized, I think.
I think we're done here.
750 final vote 7503, so not promoted. Wipeout is not subject to cooldown, so can be renominated for April. Okay, next up is Cody HM, and I shall go to random.org and randomize the list.
I do have to go, so just use my absentee votes from here forward.
Will do.
Yeah.
See you, Senra.
See it.
See you, Senra.
This is a difficult one.
All right. We're now voting on 4B, which is Cody HM. First up is Yoshi.
Oh, sorry. Can you pass me for a second? I'm dealing with something.
Okay. Skelly.
Neutral.
Next one is an absentee. Okay, next one is Vicky, who has voted no. Echo.
No.
Next one is Kyle, who has voted no. Next is Mega, who is not here. Cece.
I'm not voting for personal reasons.
Okay. Del.
Against.
Frumple.
Neutral.
Crumble?
I said neutral.
I didn't hear.
That didn't come through, so okay.
Neutral.
Yeah.
Neutral.
I think he voted for.
I think he voted cow.
Moo.
Next up is Sinra, who, now that I'm using the absentee, is voting. Make sure I'm reading that run. Sinra is voting no. Volp.
I have no idea. I've been flipping back and
be like
forth
that.
like a.
Both
Oh,
by
let me
default
use
vote for the
any topic-
vote
any
for the
topic.
worst case, or if you really can't decide, just don't vote. That's
George on election night.
don't bring that in.
Georgia got settled though. Where are you going to settle?
Just pick one, Volpe.
Atlanta, I'd imagine. I'm probably going to default for neutral for now. May change. I don't think no matter. Even if I
Yeah,
vote
you can change your vote. That's fine. Okay, Volp's the neutral. Yoshi, have you decided on a vote, or are you?
Yes, sorry, I had to deal with something real quick. I'll be
No, you're
voting
good.
against. I'll be voting against.
Okay. Unjins is not here. Next up is Chief. I'm voting neutral. Tom. Still not here. And AP is the last one. That one's also absentee, and that one is a yes.
I just have to color these votes.
So we have.
Pass.
So we have every single vote category has at least one.
Okay.
1 for neutral, 6 against, I believe.
I think five against, one abstain.
Yeah.
No, I count 6 against.
Oh, okay. I'm just running PTLD's counter.
PTLD is CNN, not quite the up-to-date vote count.
So the vote count is that
Can I
is
kick
correct.
PTLD
It is
fake news? Can I kick PTLD?
one. So yeah, the vote right now is 1464.
1464.
114, 4 neutral, 6 against, 4 not voting.
Who wants to go first? I don't know.
I suppose I could if nobody else wants to. Oh, okay. I might just screw
Go
myself
ahead.
there.
Oh, go ahead.
Cody is a canon I've been all over the place on. I mean, Chief recalls that we eventually at one point had a discussion about even nominating him ourselves. I've had some really, really positive encounters with Cody. I've also had a lot of iffy ones, or ones that come up that rub me the wrong way, or ones that I've seen others have that are very negative, both recently and not. I can't, in good conscience, vote for, but I'm not inclined to vote against. But at the same time, neutral's the only real place I can feel somewhat comfortable in.
Can you be more specific about those incidents, Little?
I mean, a lot of it was brought up in the nomination discussion, with
Okay.
again outright copying some of these broadcast.
Yeah, it's fair to say Cody has a lot of baggage
Yeah, a
from
lot of
past
baggage.
interactions that people are bringing up now, in the sense of Kitty and other things.
I would,
And
but
I think that's what
I'm not
mentioning.
inclined to have those torpedo it entirely because of how long ago it was,
Mhm.
and I have also, again, I've had some really positive encounters with him somewhat recently. Private discussions in Mumble where it does give me an option to see where he's changed. There are recent encounters that I've seen. My mind is failing me right now. Dear God, I'm so sorry. This isn't professional of me.
You've had positive interactions, negative interactions. You just said you've had interactions.
Yeah, I've had certain conversations on Mumble that I don't want to go over just for the sake of respecting privacy. These were pretty heart-to-heart conversations. That they're
Yeah,
the main
for me,
things
I
influencing my
abstained
score.
because I just know him. I know him too much that I'm scared that knowing him personally would alter how I would vote.
Yeah, that's fair.
As that was mentioned in staff chat, that's mainly why I did not vote on Cody.
We want to bring up the pub quiz stuff.
What about pub quiz?
Who are you
Do we want to
asking
bring
about?
that up? Like, did that actually influence anybody's voting?
To an
It
extent,
No.
it did.
worried me a little.
I suppose I could go over that.
Just again, for the benefit of the public, I don't think they know about it because it was not mentioned in the nomination. So
I'll
somebody
go
needs to
over that.
explain it.
So, the first pub quiz, everybody knows that Cody won that by quite a large margin. It was enough of a margin to cock some eyebrows about what was going on, especially as there'd been allegations in the past about Cody potentially cheating when it comes, like Dalt, you said with Survivor. I think Yoshi mentioned something as well, but eventually we did come up with an answer, and at least an explanation from him, which says he'd seen these questions before in a trivia book, which that is actually where Lennon lifted them from. Let me just give me chicken. But there are also other concerns, like regarding some of the more smaller details, like just even when the answers were coming in, they were either very quick or they were right at the tail end, and there was no real in between. And there were things just way too specific at times. So he's either got a really good memory or something was off. I don't. It wasn't really conclusive enough to really rule on it, which is all it caused was a delay in the money of pub quiz being handed out.
Yeah.
And again, Cody's answer there is perfectly acceptable. It does make sense. It fits with everything, and it does fit with him saying that there had been past pub quiz things that he'd attended to IRL, so he probably absolutely was used to the format, which probably gave him benefit there.
Yeah, I did confirm that. So when I informed Cody that he was being nominated, I did, because we were aware of this before. I did bring that topic up with him, and he said that basically, because he's done previous pub quizzes, some questions, and basically London was using the same, I guess, book or source of questions. Some of the same questions came up, then he's already seen those questions before. My concern is that, and so to Cody's benefit, he did inform London after the fact, and London did say that he was okay with it, but I wonder if that was just because it was the first pub quiz. He wasn't sure what to do in that sort of situation. And from what Cody told me, he said he donated all the money and then he didn't actually accept the prize money. But personally, if I were in his shoes, if it seemed like I already knew the answers for a lot of these questions, I'd probably just stop participating in the middle of the quiz and then let the organizer know, because then at least I'm not. You're not. There's no going to be any confusion after the quiz, right? Or I don't know.
Yeah, I will say I can vouch that he does have one heck of a memory, I think, just because, and that lines up with the fact that, I've seen this question before, I remember the answers. But I actually at one point used him as a bit of a testing ground for later pub quizzes, just to go, hey, I've come up with some questions. How difficult do you think these are? And he does tend to get some really hard ones. Like, what was it, the crispy bullet or something?
I do want to clarify that is, while I think though I might have a little different perspective on the kind of the incident you guys are referring to, because the reason I was suspicious, not necessarily because of the point threshold, was rather that the kind of distribution of points, where it was kind of clear that if the trivia book situation is true, a majority of the points were gained during the music section of the quiz, which asked you to name the year, the artist, and the title, which doesn't come from a trivia book, which can be easily Googleable, which was the main reason of my concern, not necessarily the rest of it.
I'll see. I can
I see.
find the questions actually.
So my concern wasn't from necessarily the other questions, it was from that situation specifically, because I think if you look at the rest of the points, there's a specific significant spike from there. Now, like I said, Cody, I can't prove whether you did or not, but that I would say that's just what originally raised my suspicion. Whether that's true or not, that's I obviously neither of us I think can technically prove that. But I just want to say that was the reason that I was originally concerned.
I posted the graph. And oh crap, the legends terrible. So each one basically represents a category, yada yada. I don't remember which one's which. Hold on.
My personal opinion, I did see the evidence, and one of the questions was about what's a football team from Miami, and he answered Miami Pound Machine.
No, the question was the nickname.
Yeah, what's the nickname? And okay, so many of you guys who know me know that I'm a humongous football fan, but I had never heard of that nickname for the Dolphins until I saw that question. So if someone who like me, this is anecdotal, but if someone like me couldn't have known that Miami Pound Machine was a nickname without Googling, then I'm wondering how he found the name without some sort of aid.
That one was actually really freaking weird, specifically because I remember if you were to Google like nickname for the Miami Dolphins, Google, the first result is the Miami Pound Machine.
Okay. So I just want to
strong accusation.
Wrap around this. We don't have specific evidence, though. There's no concrete evidence that Cody, because we don't know how Cody got those answers. My main concern was how he, I guess, handled it after the quiz. Because it does say a bit about how, like, if it seems like you already know the answers, I think the honorable thing to do would be to let the organizer know as soon as possible, and recuse yourself from the contest, right?
If I'd have known for a fact this was like absolutely cheating, I would have. I probably would be voting against right now, but because there's enough in the air, and there is an explanation, and really all you can point to is objectively bad is that he didn't really withdraw, but that isn't a huge thing. Like maybe he thought, okay, well, maybe there'll be some questions in here that I don't know. Maybe the music section.
Yeah. And for people wondering, like, what does this have anything to do with, being a mod? It has big. It's very relevant because for someone to be a staff member, they do need to be as, well, as honest and, upfront as need be, right?
It's a personal integrity question, which
I just worry how much because I know, good 2 years ago, he was pretty compulsively lying about a lot of things, and I worry. I'm unsure as to how much he still does that, so I can't vote.
Are you
No.
talking about the plagiarism? Like I know the plagiarism
The
thing happened.
plagiarism, the lying about the stealing of, and pretending that he owned that track of music, and
Seoland also with the
and
plagiarized
then lying about it
Sinra.
afterwards. It just, I know it did happen 2 years ago, but I worry, and I'd be willing to, if there hadn't been any incidents recently, I'd be willing to say, well, he's changed. But if he's continued to do stuff like this, I worry that maybe he hasn't.
Seems like we're getting pretty close to consensus. Would anybody like to change their vote?
Or if there are any other comments people want to make here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just do the one last thing, which I'll highlight what Skelly said meanwhile, which is I think just to Cody, since I know he's here, he was here, he might be still watching, but essentially, I think there is, like I think Echo brought up, that as time passes, I think there's definitely more room to change. So I don't think it's necessarily going to say like we'll always hold this against you or anything, because I don't think anyone's going to hold this personally. But I think it's possible to change, and I don't think anyone's going to take it personally or hold it against you. So I just want to make that clear.
I know he's mentioned Mumble, the fact that he's regretted those actions, like he's said multiple times. I was kind of the one, he has mentioned that before.
I'm also curious about AP's for vote. Chief, there's no, you just get the vote. You don't get any justification for it, right?
Well, there is a comments box at the bottom, so I can look.
Okay.
To see if he's
maybe just worth looking in there.
Yeah, he didn't put any comments.
Okay. So.
Damn it, Volp.
Okay. So I guess.
Oi.
Okay, as no one's changing their vote, I guess we're gonna move on then.
Yeah, looks like that is settled.
4C.
4C, painted blue.
Yeah.
Ready?
This one's over 2 pages.
Okay, first up is Frumple.
Against, this is not a veto.
Pull up my first absentee ballot, which will be for Sinra. Sinra is also a no. Next up is Kyle, who is a neutral. Next up is Yoshi.
Yoshi.
Hello? Oh, I thought you heard no.
Your vote.
We didn't get
Against.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, we got
the against. We got the against.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Okay, CC.
Neutral.
Okay, Chief, I'm gonna vote no. Skelly.
Neutral.
AP is a neutral. Echo.
I am against.
Volp.
Neutral.
Vicky is a no. Mega is not here. And Ungens is not here. And Dulce.
Against.
Okay.
So that's 0, 4, 5 neutral and 7 against.
I'd imagine that the reason a lot of us probably voted that way was the evidence was pretty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's just no compelling evidence at all.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah,
it's
not
against...
only is there.
Oh, go ahead, Echo.
Go ahead, Frumple.
But Echo first, then Frumple.
Okay. Not only is there no compelling evidence for. I'm sorry, I7, but your nomination is
Bad.
unacceptable. And the evidence given is just that he made 2 maps. I have to say it, but you need to step up the quality of your nominations, because it's been pretty consistent over the last multiple months. And some of these nominations also have been carried over. The exact same nominations have been carried over for months and months and months with no change.
Yeah.
We'll probably get into that one because there is actually a GSM topic about that.
Yeah, so I'll
that's
hold
part
off
B.
on
So
the rest of that.
We'll get into
I
that.
do think Painted Blue has potential. Yeah, he seems like a nice guy. He seems fairly mature. I don't know him all too well, but I was hoping that some stronger evidence would come by, just to actually maybe not convince me to vote for, but at least let me know about him, what sort of person he is, and what to look out for in the future. But nothing came in. It's just really weak evidence. I can't vote for, but I'm also not inclined to vote against because there's nothing that really tells me there's something bad about it. It's just
Yeah.
weak.
Yeah, I'd be borderline voting neutral, but
I'm
Painted
voting.
Blue is from.
Oh.
Sorry, go ahead, Rumpel.
I'm voting against, just to be clear. It's not against him personally. It was basically based on the evidence, and based on that, I was like, yeah, no, there needs to be more. Go ahead, Dalton.
So it seems we're all kind of the same feeling of the evidence is really the main issue. No matter our votes, it seems we're all have the same issue.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, just
Anyone,
because
yeah.
I don't think
Would
anybody
anyone like to bring up any other issues?
He's got
See.
good taste in color.
Seeing none, would anyone like to change their vote?
he said the letter M.
Oh, okay, that's a 4 vote. Yeah.
Okay. Seems like this one's a pretty quick resolution. Unless anyone has any last second comments, I think we can close the vote at 0573.
Painted question. You said you were betting on all against, right? If you give me a cut of that money, I'll switch my vote.
No, don't do that, Jesus. Don't.
What?
Aw,
Wire.
Is it weird or wire?
I don't
It's
know.
pronounced like wire.
I'm
Okay,
randomizing
he
the
has a
list.
franchise named
Weird.
Wires
Weird.
Wires.
Big issue.
I always thought it was
I
weird
vote
also.
weird.
List has been randomized. AP is first, which is an absentee ballot with a vote of yes.
Ooh.
Volp.
Pass, please. For now.
Neutral?
You did vote on your absentee ballot. I can use that as a starting
Oh
point.
yeah, I voted against. I'm inclined to change that to a neutral right now. Yeah.
Okay. Put you down for neutral. You can swap as needed. Next up is Sinra, who voted no. Followed by Vicky, who voted no. Cece.
I'm gonna vote for.
Tom, not here. Frumple.
Neutral.
Echo.
No.
Skelly.
Neutral.
Kyle voted no. Mega, not here. Unjin's not here. Dalt.
Neutral.
Chief is a neutral. Yoshi.
Neutral.
Okay, so this one we got people all over the place.
Sese,
This is correct.
why'd you vote for? I'm curious.
I've had some pretty good like I think Weir's a good person in the community. Like if he helps, like he's not as out there as like say Wipeout or like Kyle in their sense of his personality, but I haven't really ever had issues with him. And I mean, even Skelly had mentioned in his evidence that like even though like Weir technically was the one that got the warning, in retrospect it seemed more of a Star Cube and not him. I haven't really Weir's kind of been like I wouldn't say out there in the spotlight in the sense, but he does like has always been active in the community in the sense, and he has done like some really cool things. I think he helps whenever he can. And that's kind of why I think he's in a sense I think he can be a good staff member.
I'm curious about those who voted against. Is there anything specific that?
Okay, well, one, I don't think the evidence is there, but primarily in my interactions with Weir, he's never really came off as particularly mature. And just doing community projects and being nice isn't really the only thing you look for in a mod. I don't really know how well he would be at actually, resolving I'm just unsure as to how mature he is.
Yeah, I could go either way at this point. Like, yeah, I don't think he's particularly mature, but I also don't know him well enough to actually be concrete about that.
Other than I'm not sure if I agree with that, honestly, because I haven't seen that much evidence of, other than that incident with Starcube, is there any other evidence that shows that him being immature? Because I would like to know.
I think I might switch my vote to 4.
Are you?
I
Or
wouldn't
no?
say
Is
he's
there no-
particularly
Oh, sorry. go ahead.
immature, but I wouldn't say he's particularly mature either. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, that's very different from being okay. That's a very different answer. Because honestly, I never. Yeah. I also have to keep him. I also want, and maybe same thing to keep in mind. It does sound like Wire is one of those more low-profile candidates. He may not be doing events like, say, Wipeout or anything. He's not active on voice chat as much. But I'm not sure if that necessarily means that person. I get Echo's point about, like, you don't know whether that person would be able to resolve conflict or not. But I don't want us to, like, just shut the door, per se, just because we don't know that, like, the person seems lower key than others, right?
Yeah.
And to be fair, historically, like, there have been many previous mods, like, for example, Omri, Ordum, Keko, Mossy. Like, those people tend to be, they're not in the spotlight, but they became mods. So.
That's not really my issue with Weird.
When it comes to promoting people who aren't always in it, aren't exactly in the spotlight, or aren't the loudest people, because I think they can bring a lot of benefit to the team that's often overlooked. So, yeah.
I'm just saying this basically. I don't want this to be like, oh, because they're doing events or that, like, that puts them on a higher pedestal. Like, that's basically what I'm saying here.
Yeah.
It's hardest to judge people when you're not doing as much, or when they're kind of sitting there working quietly on their own. Like,
or if they're actually doing good work, but it's not as noticed, right? So,
like with Mossy, I didn't even know who he was before he was promoted. I think he was a pretty good mod.
Yeah, that's kind of why I kind of
with Wire,
kind of person.
With Wire, as far as the evidence goes, I like Alpha's evidence, but I wish I got to hear more about him from other people as well. And well, I'm not going to talk about 7D's nomination at the moment, but I'm sure most people probably have similar feelings on that.
Please don't put a blank space for more evidence saying that in your nomination, but we'll talk about that more later.
So which one are you referring to, Dalt? Sorry.
In 7D's nomination, there was like a space for, like, we'll add more evidence later.
Yes.
God damn it.
Yeah, it would be great if you had your nomination complete when you send it, or at least as complete as you can.
I know he's not here,
We
but
can discuss this in the.
Yeah, we'll discuss this in a bit, but
why
okay.
did I change Discord to Discord? Probably a typo. Hold on. Yeah, I did. Sorry.
Okay, so this is probably the most mixed vote I've seen. Honestly, if all the neutral votes went to 4, I'd probably veto, based on, and if all the against votes stayed the same, because if that sort of situation happened, that means the candidate is controversial enough that probably best not to throw on it.
I mean, there is a gradient, though. It's not like all for and all against.
Yeah, I'm just saying the potential is there.
I will say, though, a lot of the against votes, like in the case, aren't particularly strong against votes either. I mean, my 4 vote isn't particularly strong either, so I guess that balances it.
Well, hang on. Three.
Hi, AP.
Oh, hi, AP.
Sorry, sorry. I was at another event before this. You see, for me, I don't know Weir that well. So I was judging based entirely on the evidence, not necessarily past members of him. So mine's a 4 based entirely on evidence rather than.
Okay.
So it's not a particularly strong 4, but it was enough to convince me.
AP, I do actually have a question for you after Wire's nomination, because you were the only 4 vote for Cody, and I'm curious about that.
Again,
Ellie is switching to 4 from neutral.
You are Chief?
again, we'll talk about. I can talk about Cody later. Again, based on the evidence.
I see.
I gotta redo these counts.
4-4-4.
No, I already did that.
Perfectly balanced, as all things should
Well,
be.
Chief, you said you were going to 4?
No, that was Skelly.
Oh,
I'm staying neutral.
I thought you meant. Sorry, let me fix yours.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, we'll go talk to Cody. We'll get AP's comment about Cody in a sec. But are there any other things we want to talk about here? Any other vote changes or anything?
Oh, Elite's mad.
Yeah, otherwise, I think we're going to close this as 4-4-4-3.
I'm watching the same game as Elite right now on my TV, and
Okay, yay
they
sports.
just lost.
Yay sports. Moving on.
Yay, sports ball.
All right, so that is it. So no new mods this time around. None are subject to cooldown, I believe.
Oh wait, that's 5 4 vote. That's not 4.
Ooh, I'm gonna set up a
No,
food truck.
It's
Must
4.
have some
It is
money
4.
for this.
It is 4-4-4.
It's 4-4-4-3.
Oh wait, I
So.
saw an extra one. That was dumb. I'm being dumb.
Okay, so that is it for mod nominations. Next up is.
No, hold on, Chief. We want the comment from AP regarding Cody because we're kind of curious.
Oh yeah, okay.
He did say it was just about the evidence, didn't he?
Yeah.
That's what
Well,
he said.
I don't know how much of the discussion that we've had in the staff channel is public.
We did discuss at the pub quiz, just so you know.
Okay, yes, that's what I meant. You see, if someone happens to know something because they've gotten, if somebody happens to know something because they've read a book, I don't consider that cheating. Again, it wasn't a particularly strong 4 votes. It wasn't particularly strong 4 votes. I will say, but I think the way I see it, I believe Cody has matured since then.
Okay. The counter argument I made there, AP, was I had some concerns about how he react. Like, I think he should have recused himself from the contest earlier rather than later. He did inform London after the fact, and London was okay with it apparently. But I'm mainly more concerned about how he reacted, knowing that some of the questions that he already knew. So, but
sometimes you don't know that sometimes you don't know where you know questions, where you know things from until afterwards, until after the fact when you start connecting dots.
If it was just like 1 or 2 questions, I'd be fine. But apparently, it was more than that. It was a little bit more than that. So, yeah.
All right.
Okay. Anyway.
Well, I'm not absolute on the matter. I might, had I been there for the discussion, I might have changed my vote to neutral.
Okay.
All right. Fumple, you have 5A about vetoes.
Yes, this seems okay. I'll bring them back around this one. So, I have been asked personally by a couple members of whether I would veto, like before they even get nominations or anything, of whether I would veto them or not. And based on the original proposal, the policy was that I would not say anything until they got those 2 nominations. Problem is, I'm not too comfortable with the situation because, for one thing, I can't be honest with them or upfront with them or have a proper discussion with them because of this. And also, I'm not comfortable with them. In some cases, I've seen them try to get their hopes up, and I feel like that's going to waste not only their time, but also anyone who nominates them or any staff time, basically. So originally, this proposal, I was thinking, what if I just announced vetoes immediately? Kitty did provide feedback, which I agree with some of it, and I do agree that that's probably not the way to go. So I have, if you scroll down to the bottom of this topic, there is now an amended proposal, which basically says that any player can ask me directly if I'm going to veto them or not. The caveat is that if I do give an answer, whether or not I veto or not, yes or no, like that answer is going to be public. That's just for the benefit of anyone else who might be considering nominating them, or just general knowledge, really. So it based this way at least gives all players the choice of whether they want to know the secret. They want to know whether I'm going to veto them or not. It's up to them. They can also choose not to do that, or they can also choose not to decline the petition completely and not have any chance of being vetoed or even getting nominations. So basically, I'm leaving it up to the person to make that choice. This doesn't completely solve the whole issue of people. There's going to be some situations where people will nominate them and then I veto them later because they never asked. But at least in those situations, it allows me to be honest with those who do ask, and that's that. So
we're basically saying that people can open the box of Schrodinger's cat if they want, but that opens it for everybody.
I was thinking Pandora's box, but that's kind of a bad connotation. But I'm not trying to describe it. It's a box. Open the box, essentially.
I don't know. Schrodinger's cat, I feel like is a bit of a better analogy.
True. Yeah. I guess it's one or the other.
Right.
I mean, either
and
way,
you don't know until you open the box. So, yeah, I like the amended route. I think that's fine if it winds up having to be public. I mean, because like vetoes wind up being public anyway. So
Kitty does say he's fine with the amended proposal. So I'm curious for any other comments that people have about it. Because again, just to be clear, this does mean if people do ask, I will have to announce it, and that'll be all public information. And of course, sorry, go ahead, Chief.
Would this apply to the people who have asked you previously?
I'm thinking, it didn't specify in the proposal. I'm thinking no. I think if they really want to know, starting from now, they can ask again. But I'm not going to go retroactively here.
Noah Rebel, I don't understand that. You can make it so you have to ask before nominating if they're vetoed. Anyone who's nominating, you have to check the spreadsheet, and we check to make sure that they're not subject to a veto or a preemptive decline.
Yeah, and I mean one benefit is if someone asks and I confirm they're not vetoed, I think I'll give more confidence for people to send nominations because they don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, although I mean the majority of people won't be subject to veto.
Yeah,
but still, it's just good to confirm that.
Yeah,
it's only the candidate themselves can ask you, not other people can ask about.
It has to be the candidate. I don't want other people.
The question is, am I subject to a veto? If you want to ask that about anybody else, you have to look on the member list.
One to confirm.
Okay.
And we do have the good quick reference spreadsheet. We have the quick reference spreadsheet as well. I believe it's is it in information? If it's not, it will be put in information.
Yeah. No, I'm not entirely sure what you mean by that comment. What do you mean by cracks in the community? Because this is really just between me and the candidate, not anyone else. And if you did read the response I made, I did state that Kitty was correct that there's essentially kind of two kind of vetoes I'm imagining. Most vetoes are going to be along the lines of, there's stuff that you've done and that's publicly known, and it's been damaging to the community and other people. So those I think those vetoes should be kind of pretty much obvious, I think. Mind you, though, there are some vetoes that might be more along the lines of, I can't work with this person, or I might have had previous negative interactions with this person. And in those cases, I mean, I think that's also fair because if I can't work with the person on staff team, that's probably not going to end up very well. So probably best not to even allow that possibility.
I mean, no, any candidate that gets rejected, people will be probably sad over.
Yeah, that's inevitable, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I would rather, as much as this might hurt feelings, I would rather just be upfront and honest with people about how I think of how viable they are as a candidate and whether they can work on the staff team or not, or do they have a chance. I'd rather not put it off till later or try to sugarcoat it or anything.
I made so much money this year, son. Sorry, what? Oh, we're on this process.
It sounds like this is largely settled around going with the amended proposal from Katie and Frumple.
Yeah, I do like the proposal. It's actually, it might actually be pretty possible to, like, you said there's some stuff missing from the chart, but you could actually maybe polish that up a bit.
Just an arrow from like declined to, because
Yeah,
like if people preemptively decline now, you're going from unknown to straight to declined.
Yeah, but you could actually put
Or no.
that on the website.
Yeah,
It's a
so
very easy way of doing it.
yeah, well, here's the thing. I don't want to. The diagram I made was just to help people understand this during the meeting. I don't want to add. Just for a silly procedure like this, I don't want to add more diagrams to the website. It gets a little. I think for most people, that's not something that they're going to even think about, right? So
yeah, no, I think just the concept is there. I think we understand how it works. I think it's fine to approve.
Does the average player do it?
Sorry, what was that question, Wolf?
And like, does the average player on tonight, is this a simple system for the average?
I don't think it's worth them. Like, we can describe it in text if they need.
And also,
yeah.
If it comes up, we'll deal with it. I don't think that this is. Most people aren't going to be interfacing with this every single day.
Yeah.
All right. So this is going to be approved as amended. Going once. Going twice. Approved as amended. Kyle's proposal about nominations. So this is where we could talk about I-7D. Kyle's not here. Echo, you had some. Back when we were talking about some of the candidates, Echo, you had some comments that are very relevant to this.
Yeah. Let me read the proposal here. I don't think I have.
Essentially, it's.
Kyle bolded it too, of like his actual proposal part.
Well, I will say a lot. I do have some issues with the original proposal. Basically, just too specifically, it does advocate for we should be much stricter in accepting nominations. It doesn't give any real criteria of what stricter is. It's very vague and.
You can. Maybe this is a point where I can bring in my comments, which morphed into an outright proposal.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. I was also.
Yeah, Skelly does provide more structure, I think.
He does. I'm way more inclined to vote for Skelly's thing.
Yep. I have an alternative to bring up too, and it's really simple. Just talk to I7 and tell them to step it up. Like,
yeah,
I think we have done that already a couple times. So
I do have. I don't know if we have.
Actually, I'm unsure.
Yeah,
I don't think we ever have.
In terms, although I will say, a lot of why we sometimes we do ask, if somebody is nominated, if one person gets nominated by X at one GSM or Y at the next, we ask why didn't X nominate this GSM? So I think I7's taken that and has taken that.
AP, because we don't publish the nominations until they're closed. So you can't exactly know. Because
nominate who?
Yeah, I would imagine that it's that there may be something of like, okay, if you knew someone had one nomination and you could be the one to push it over and require and allow for a ballot, then that might allow, then yeah, you might get more people getting through, but the quality would be relatively lower, I think, if people just knew that, oh, all I have to do is just send in a quick little thing and it'll go on. So
Yeah, that's not what I was advocating.
right, okay.
I think the thing is, I think 70 does want these people to be nominated, to be assessed for moderator. I just don't know if, well, no, I know a minute though, those particular nominations are more harmful than hurtful, not more harmful than helpful.
Yeah, I mean,
potentially.
I mean, I guess one case, well, I'm not sure how much harm it did, but Painted's recent nomination was like, that was based on the evidence, and in a way, his name shouldn't have come up. There's also, okay, yeah.
My question is,
oh, go ahead, Susan.
I was going to say, at least we did mention I-70's nominations. I know with Painted, Mega asked the question of why is this nomination on the agenda in the first place? I guess my question is, should we also maybe figure out where the bar is of where nominations, when they can be put on the agenda, and maybe have because I know we said in the original process that we could deny nominations from being on the agenda.
No, that's not correct. I initially said we should just allow all nominations because I wanted everyone else, all other members, to see what kind of nominations we deal with for the last few years. Like, this is the kind of quality that we're seeing, right? And that hasn't changed so far. If we do want to change that, we can. I just don't know. I don't know if we want to spend the time enforcing that. And
because I'm going to reference what Mega said, because as Mega said, like, Painted had 2 nominations. If we rejected I-70s for, as we said earlier, for not having enough evidence, Painted would not have been up for voting.
Correct.
It changes the whole agenda based on whether if we rejected a nomination or not.
Correct. But we have to make it clear what the criteria is. I can also see a very this might not happen, but it could. Like, if we reject a nomination, someone might misunderstand and think that we're trying to block someone from being nominated. If you get what I'm saying, like the whole point of the whole point of the open process is everything goes through. We're not the ones enforcing quality. It's up to the public to enforce quality. Like, if they see a bad nomination, they can call that out, right?
My thought, the really big thing I think that we can easily say is, I would be okay if we just outright banned reusing the nomination. Like, the fact that you have, like, it's pretty comical that you have I-70's nomination of, I think,
Chief,
I forget which
carried
one
over 6 times.
No, but like the fact that it's like from January, like, and it's literally the same thing. And I get it if you want to include the same evidence, but the rest of it, like, that's really low effort, I feel like.
I agree with that. How many times I-7 submitted was way too much, but I don't agree in the sense that maybe someone submits a nomination, but that's the only nomination that candidate receives. So maybe they do it again the next month to try to, like, see if anyone else, because
test our luck.
Well, not only that, because the nomination is, if you submit the first time, because that nomination is public, other players might see that and say, oh, this person is interested in that candidate, maybe I'll submit my own nomination to add on to that, and then actually get that person through. Right? I've seen some people just talk about that. Like, they notice, oh, that's a candidate I didn't think about, right?
I can see that, but 7 times or 5 times
yes,
is a little too much.
That's too much.
How about then, as a compromise, each candidate. Sorry, I'm trying to think of the way to phrase this. So you can reuse evidence up until the point we as staff assess it and say, if somebody gets one nomination, if somebody gets one nomination one time around, you can reuse that. But once we've looked at the evidence and said, okay, this isn't enough, that's when it gets rejected. That's when it gets, okay, you'd have to come to us with new evidence.
I have an alternative suggestion because I think, Skelly said that some of the evidence from Wipeout was recycled from May of last year, but we just haven't considered Wipeout yet. I think that maybe to make sure that there's still fresh evidence, like if they only got one nomination, but we still haven't considered them for 1 or 2 GSMs, maybe each time you resubmit the nomination, you should have to submit from the last month a piece of new evidence just to make sure that you're still submitting fresh, up-to-date evidence.
That requires us to remember that rule and look at it very carefully for the new evidence.
Keep a history of all nominations.
Yeah, in the interest of like keeping it simple, I mean,
we'd have to compare this month and last month, which I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if it's going to be like, I was thinking of the way I-70's particular formats his, because I think right now he's one of the only ones reusing them a lot like that. But anyway, he cites like from last month, and then he sometimes will add, a sentence or two or not. But I'm saying like in that edition, a piece of new evidence.
Here's another
Do
idea.
you want to get into the other amendments by Skelly and Frumple? Because I don't think we got to those yet either.
Oh, sorry. What do you mean, CC?
Frumple, didn't you mention that you had a different proposal?
Well, the one proposal I thought was just talk to I-70 because he seems to be the main. But though, as Skelly said, there may be other people. The one idea I was thinking is maybe instead of doing with Skelly, because Skelly's going for do 3 out of 4 qualities or something like that. Like, how about a lot of the nominations they follow the format, like they follow all the criteria, and they actually go through and all that. I-7's doesn't. So maybe it's just a case of not just I-7s, but just enforce that you have to at least mention each of the criteria and provide some information in there. Not of it's all going to be equal, but at least you're addressing it, right?
I think that's reasonable. And don't format it ridiculously and indent 6 times.
If you want to complain,
that just
yeah.
Well, no, like there's a point where like I can understand if you want to quote yourself from prior, but like there's also a point when it gets ridiculous.
Well, you're quoting yourself, quoting yourself, quoting yourself, quoting yourself, quoting yourself.
Yes, like that's no.
So I guess if we go down that right of saying like mention the qualities, and if they don't, just outright reject because of that.
Yeah, because usually if it doesn't follow that, they're missing. It's probably missing something. It's probably it more likely than not. It's probably going to be more along the lines of this person's nice, or they've made maps, or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
They bribed me to submit a nomination.
That's illegal. Yeah, I would say if we're gonna impose a rule, then you can't ask for nominations.
What if you're not asking? You're paying them money, and then you shoot them a winky face. You're technically not directly asking.
I think if we just say, if we just say like the simplest rule of you got to address all the qualities, that is at least I think a reasonable to understand yardstick.
Okay.
Except the nice to have. We shouldn't force
Yeah,
candidates.
the nice to haves they're nice to haves. Like that's why they're there. Like you don't have to address them. And of course, if there are other things that are not listed there that you think are relevant, do put them in. But I think if we just say that we need to require.
I personally went with 3 or 4 instead of all of them because I don't want to completely gatekeep, because in the case of someone who hasn't really had to get into any conflicts to resolve, but otherwise has done is nice and understanding and would be good for moderator.
The reason I don't like that is I don't want to have to count that.
Skelly, I would say there's a difference between addressing it and saying
there's evidence of it. Yeah.
Right, and having evidence. I wouldn't require evidence.
Yeah.
I would say as long as you even anecdotally talk about it.
There can, in some of those points, you can say, like, if you find out you run through the criteria and you find like, oh, this point doesn't seem as strong, or you can just say that I couldn't find it, or you just acknowledge that, you know, this is probably the weakest part of my nomination, right?
Yeah.
So
I want to at least have them acknowledge, yeah, like Rumble said, acknowledge the point and at least make an effort of and think about, does this candidate meet this requirement?
Yeah.
And like, do I have evidence to back that up, or do I have anecdotal things to talk about it, or is it something where I genuinely have to say I think they meet it, but I'm not sure how to put my finger on it?
Yeah. The criteria is not you have to hit all the points. Like,
no.
Yeah, these are stuff we're looking for. That's it.
So, okay.
The only thing I'm gonna question this part here, because sure, you can mention like they can say yes, this candidate meets these points. But what if they don't have evidence? Can we reject a nomination for not having evidence? That's the point I want to really question.
So I think that's a different question, and I think
we're setting some sort of bar to reject nominations now.
We're rejecting nominations entirely if they don't talk about the things on that list, or if they're like really bad.
I think what CC
go ahead.
I think what CC is saying is, what if they address the points but they don't provide any evidence?
That's still a thing that we need for the nomination.
Yeah. So maybe it is a combination of both. Maybe it is you need to address the points and put in at least something there. Like, you can't just
because like that, right? In the current way that we've said it, they could easily just put each point, say something, and not put any evidence, and it can go on the agenda by our current bar.
Yeah.
So address all points, and you have to have at least one good piece of evidence.
Not at least one. It has to be, let's say, like, obviously, if you're gonna put in all that effort for a nomination, you better put in.
There better be some evidence.
We could say a majority of the points. You have to have at least one piece of evidence. Like, maybe that. I don't know. This is all getting very.
It's getting very technical, and
right. I don't know how to set that bar, but like that's the point. That's the really big issue I see right now.
I mean, the more evidence that can help that can support a nomination, the better.
Well, one of the points, CC, is people are the reason why we're saying the criteria is some people are posting evidence that's not relevant, right? Like, it's not related to any of the points. Like, they make maps. How is that relevant, right? Like, that's why we're saying it has to be tied to the criteria too. So I think it's both. You need both. Hello?
Yeah, I'm writing that on the minutes.
Oh, okay.
What about the idea of publicizing nominations that get rejected?
I guess the question is that relevant anymore?
I think we should still, if it's being rejected because it doesn't talk about it, like, no. Kitty does bring up a good point of, like, we should be able to decide the merits of evidence at the GSM.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I honestly would rather say, look, I appreciate having evidence, but in terms of, like, rejecting, like, I would reject outright if there was absolutely no evidence, but if there's any at all, if there's any at all, I would allow it through, because then at that point, then we can discuss on its merits.
Yeah. I was just trying to get that safeguard of, like, if they didn't put any evidence, we could at least say, no, we need evidence.
Yeah, no, we can do that if we want.
Well, I was saying to publicize the rejected nominations just so to provide transparency to the public and reassure anyone who may think that we're trying to block nominations.
I will say that regardless of what we do here, I do think it would be wise to talk to I-70 just to give him a general heads up and to like, don't do this, please.
I think we will. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, CZ, can you put in the minutes just a reminder for us to talk to I7 because honestly, most of this is going to be directed at him.
Most of the problems are with him. Yeah. I'd say the majority of everybody else who's been submitting nominations, your nominations would still go through under this policy change.
Actually, I'd like to. Actually, I'll even go for thank you for putting effort into those nominations because a lot of them have been pretty good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
One thing that should always stand through is basically quality over quantity. Like, as you've seen with Painted and Painted specifically and other candidates, if you do genuinely want somebody to get moderator, you genuinely think they deserve it, the best thing you can do for them is to put effort into your nominations. A low quality nomination, even though it may get them to that second bar, could actually hurt them in the long run.
I'm not sure if the problem is effort. I think some of this is me speculating. I think some of it might be they are putting effort, but they're putting in not the relevant things. Like again, with I7, the maps, he might think that that's important. Not so much for us, right? There might be a disconnect there.
Nomination too, because his was very long, but the evidence wasn't as good.
Yeah.
Okay. So it sounds like we're kind of reaching consensus here of yes, we should reject nominations if they don't address all of the qualities in some form.
Are we going to address Skelly's point? Like, do we want to publish the rejected ones, or do we just say no and they have to redo it?
Pros and cons. I would say it, in the interest of not polluting and confusing the agenda or the nominations doc, I would say no.
Okay.
And I think that outweighs the kind of name and shame benefit that you would potentially get by publishing them and saying this is being rejected.
Yeah, I mean,
because right now, if we have to reject something from the rest of the agenda because it's not thought out, which we most commonly do with events, we don't publish that.
Yeah,
you just say, please fix these and resubmit.
Again, my point previously was I wanted these nominations, like all nominations, to be shown is just to show people, especially right after moving to the new process of what we're dealing with. I think we've gone through this for several months now. I think people are getting the idea of that. I'm hoping. So I don't know, just to avoid having another category in the nomination doc and keep track of that. Like maybe it's not as needed.
That would pollute it quite a bit. I mean, maybe we could say, by the way, we did receive but had to reject nominations from these people for these candidates.
Yeah.
Just so that people are aware that we are receiving them. But I don't think that we should publish the nominations themselves.
Let's just pose what the people who are listening right now. Is this something you care about? Do you want to see those rejected nominations? I guess this, if people want transparency, then we can do it. But we're basically saying this might be a bit too much.
I would be in favor of seeing it. It also both as an example of, hey, this is what we're not accepting versus this is what we are accepting, and also people see because I give people ideas of what to include as well. Like, oh, hey, there's a nomination coming for this person. Maybe I should nominate it, even though this one was rejected.
Okay, it sounds like there are a few people who still want to see those rejected nominations, Chief. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, all right.
So I guess we'll just add them to the end of the mod nominations doc.
Age break and put them at the end.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So in that case, we will require nominations to at least address the points listed on the website and must include at least one piece of evidence. Nominations that don't meet that will be rejected, but will still be posted to the end of the nominations doc.
All right.
Let's talk about pub quiz. 7A. Is this comparable to the previous runs of pub quiz in terms of prizes?
I think it might be the exact same.
In that case, no objection.
Did it go well? Because I know the last one he made changes to the format, right?
I think it went well. Yeah, it didn't take as long. There were some changes to keep it more interesting.
Yeah, the previous one, they haven't gone off without a hitch for sure, but they've been fine. I'd be willing to film this again.
Speaking of somebody who helps run it, yeah, every single one gets a little bit more polished, and we are working on new ways of making it more interesting. Like, what can we do? Like last time around, we actually played the actual music instead of just reading the lyrics off. I think that was a good idea. We're gonna see what else we can do along those lines.
Yeah, no objection for me.
Yeah, but I'm happy with it.
I'm for it.
Cool.
Fund in full going once. Going twice. Funded. 7B. Which is golf tournament.
Not sure if it's
London's
relevant.
taking over MGA.
Yeah, he's taking it over. Talon has kept. He was trying to do some toward the earlier part of the year, but it seems like he's pretty much inactive. I'm assuming he's too busy. So, yeah, London's been taking over.
Yep.
Yeah, has London run previous of these?
He's been involved.
He has. There are other staff in MGA, I believe. Aside from Talon and London, I believe Red Ray is involved to some extent too in their staff. Gods used to be.
Mm.
Oh, London's on meeting channel, so you can confirm anything.
Yep, he's confirming Talon's been busy.
Yeah, which that's fine.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm
Okay.
I'm happy with funding this in full.
Okay,
I'm
yeah,
fine with
Red Ray
this.
and Otto have been helping out too.
Okay, great. Happy to approve. Fund in full going once. Going twice.
And sold to Tiger Woods.
Funded in full. Hermes or Hermes or whatever
Hermes.
bus.
Hermes.
Don't you know your Greek
Hermes.
gods?
Hermes.
Oh, okay, anyway, sorry.
Okay,
has
so
been a
this
thing for a while.
is a contested IAT between Cody and Cece. Fight.
No, my money's on the thin one.
Can I see what exactly this livery for the Hermes bus leaf transit will look like?
I haven't. I've been really busy work, so I wasn't actually able to finish it. It would be mainly a mix of the two. I try to keep the main colors with the light blue to make sure that at least designate it used to be a Hermes bus. In the case of Shimura returning, I also keep a record of all stops on Leaf Transit, so I could easily backpedal if Shimura was to come back and give back all of his stops and buses. But as far as livery, I have not finalized one just because of work.
Mm. In terms of how is there not a single functional warp?
They were citizen.
Because
Yeah, they were a citizen.
I thought
that too.
was the Whiteley-Shillington route not in play?
Nope. I checked
Fair
every
enough. I
single
thought
bus.
it was.
I checked every single bus for warp on my spreadsheet, and it's public accessible. So if either me or Cody get it, that sheet can be used by either of us.
Does anyone have any arguments in favor of transferring it to either one specifically?
I think, as you've said, Cece, having covered obviously a lot of the towns which Hermes bus would have served either no longer exist or are no longer active. or the plan, the person was not aware of the plan at all. So I think
Aren't the buses already there? though?
I don't think that necessarily counts against Cody.
I will say though, the one thing I do like about Cody's proposal is the fact that the buses will be there will be some indicator of what they were. I wouldn't mind, Ceci, if you were to win the SciAT, if you were to at least have some indicator of that these used to be Hermes buses, even if it just means like a custom.
That's deliveries
color
for.
scheme. I see.
I'd frankly prefer I mean, if there's a choice between keeping this company in existence and just revitalizing it and completely, getting rid of it and annexing it into your own bus company, I'd rather have the company be kept around.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the only. Oh well.
My thought is, I think several transport industries, and I don't know how much this applies to bus, this definitely applies to air, are very fragmented. And I personally would like to see a little bit of consolidation, just from the perspective of towns trying to get like their transit stations and stuff built and gates given out. Is that if you only have a small number of gates available, that it's very fragmented and you can't easily set up networks to connect to places. So in that instance, I'd rather consolidate slightly. And there will be a point when there's too much consolidation, but I feel like right now, and again, I don't know how much this applies to buses. We might be at that point where it's okay if we have more companies, but
I don't know how busy or active the bus line is. I think most companies are pretty inactive.
I would agree.
Actually, I've been the company. If you can see on the transit dock, I've been doing bus warps every month. Cody has actually just been getting active too. Both of them are the active buses currently.
Just using Cheering Square as an example, I count 1, 2. Oh, hang on. I should have counted this before.
Please hold while AP counts.
I count 11 different companies here.
Yes, the transit keeps track of all of them. You can see all the different bus companies.
Well,
there are.
Although I am including STC in this, which maybe you shouldn't.
Yeah, well, STC is regional, so that one very much needs to be there. Yeah, I mean, I would be okay giving it to either one, especially if it's going to be folded in to an existing company.
I don't really think the bus industry is at a point where it's like too big as like the airline industry was a while ago. So I don't really feel compelled to I don't really feel like that's a strong point towards DC. I think given that Cody is trying to preserve it and given the history that we have with IATs of trying to respect the original wishes, I would probably give it to Cody, but I don't feel strongly.
This Moria person, it's not like they put a lot of work into this. Even as a citizen, did they do it all by hand, or did they ask for world ads? I'm not entirely sure.
These are all 3 years ago, so it's not any block data.
I think in terms, I think they did ask for world edits.
Okay, this is also noted on any of the proposals. I do remember Moria of Mines actually announcing his permanent departure from the server, so I don't think he will be coming back.
Okay.
He won't, and that's why I actually approached Modern, because he had mentioned that Modern was good to get it, and that's why I had asked Modern if he had plans to take it.
There doesn't seem to be any strong opinions here, so I'm not sure what we're going to decide.
I'm personally inclined to give it to Ceci, just based on past experiences and a seemingly better plan. Although I still like the idea of keeping it as its own little company. But I suppose a special library, maybe like a heritage line or something, would be good.
I will point out that the buses are 5 wide, and a lot of bays do not. A lot of cities will not have 5 wide buses these days.
Is CC?
We're at
Is
a
there?
5 wide.
Oh, sorry.
I measured 3 wide last time on all the ones I've seen.
Oh, again, the ones in Turing Square are 5 wide, so it might have been a difference from.
CC, is there a possibility of any sort of compromise solution, like shared ownership of a bus company, or
With
collaboration, or collaboration, or anything like that?
With Cody, I think I can definitely do that. I said no to Moderns because I had kind of a sour taste from Arctic Line with him. Cody, I can get along with. So if that's what you would like, I can certainly we can work on something.
I'm proposing it because it doesn't seem like we have any strong indication of giving it to you or Cody. So I'm like trying to think of other
I
solutions
think
here.
that would be a very good compromise. Yes.
Kind of working with each other to revive. Is Cody here right now?
No.
He was earlier. Yeah, I think that either one of you is fine, or a shared ownership model is fine. I think.
Yeah, I think
if
we do that, I think if we officially give it to CC right now, because obviously you're here, I think we can trust you to follow through on that.
Yeah, I mean, and the benefit is like we can officially give it to you now, but you can always voluntarily, do the voluntary transfer, voluntary partial transfer when, like, if you and Cody decide that you're going to be able to work together on it.
Okay, for the sake of,
I'm
just trying to nail down the shared part to just work out kind of how you share the assets, I guess.
Yeah, I would say let's give it to you, but that's not a complete no against Cody. You and Cody can certainly have a conversation, and if you guys come to an agreement on either him taking it over, like if he wants it, more badly than you, or if you guys are able to figure out a way to have both of you managing it at the same time, then that's great. So
we're basically saying we don't know the details of how that shared agreement is going to work out, so that's up to you guys to figure out.
Yeah, so then that's why I would say give it to CC, and then if you guys come up with a shared agreement, then do the normal change of ownership process.
Okay.
For that. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
Any objections? Dalt, is that okay with you? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I don't feel strongly for anything, so.
Okay. 8B, City of Dawn, PTLD. C105.
So the sign to the neighboring city, I'm at it right now. It is a thing, and there's no block data, so it probably was placed by B-Ski. From what I can understand, this is probably like a free build city where people are allowed to build in the plots freely without, if they are within certain rules. I think there's some documentation on that in the town hall.
I remember this.
He might have placed this sign as some kind of thing saying, like, hey, anyone's free to build a road here to Armada. You don't have to ask me or anything.
It doesn't say Armada, it just, wanted connection to neighboring city.
Now, my bigger question is, PTOD, why exactly do you want it? Why exactly do you want the city of Dawn?
This is just a freaking collection of roads. Are there any actual buildings?
There's a couple buildings around where the actual station is, and there's a gigantic underground mess. I don't even know what it's supposed to be.
I remember him actually building that. That was like way back in 2015, 2016. This was actually some kind of sorting complex.
PTOD, clarify what you mean by expand influence. So you just wanted to have it.
That's not a strong argument.
It's
yeah.
I
like, what are you gonna do with it?
I'd be in favor of a bit of a middle ground. Don't give it to PTLD, but do give him permission to connect it to a road, or to Armada. Although I'm not really sure why you would want to connect it to Armada, because there's nothing here.
I would act as a caretaker for the town, as well as doing some minor franchise placement to get the town a counselor, is what he put in his original proposal.
Didn't we also argue that franchises don't really count for ranks?
I mean,
For council,
current. I will be honest. It's my personal judgment that I don't think the town is anywhere near complete as it is. The only reason it's as big as it looks like a big city is because of the roads.
Yeah, it's a very large road grade.
Yeah.
It would look like it'd be a really freaking promising town if Beasky actually finished it, which he didn't.
But what rank was Beasky? Just citizen or trustee?
Beasky was a citizen. I remember he used to be that one guy who was a member plus for a while, but then he got citizen at some point.
He was an old member, wasn't he? Like he donated.
He was one of the very first people to donate, and for a while he was just a member plus.
So the reason that I ask is I'm trying to think through what's the likelihood of returning.
I looked up in Discord logs, and I saw that Beasky returned for a bit in, I think, May or June of 2020, but he even forgot where this town was.
Oh, okay.
Ooh, that's not a good sign. He does seem to be somebody who intermittently comes back, works a bit, and then disappears for like years.
Personally, I'm in favor of Chief's compromise as well.
What was Chief's compromise?
Wait, I didn't offer compromise on this one. I was asking.
You mean mine, right? I was the one who offered the, let him build the road, but don't give him the town.
Okay, maybe I misheard.
Yeah, that was Vol.
I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
because yeah,
it gets PTLD the road, but it doesn't give him a town that really I don't know why he wants it.
I can see it's near Armada. I don't know if PT had some western expansion planned here.
It's the gap. How much space is between them right now?
Very peculiar town.
Depends on whether we want to count from the end of the road system or the end of the buildings.
The end of the buildings.
Yeah.
These are nice roads, I will say.
It's nice roads. It's just there's a shame there's nothing that they connect to
between them. Yeah. But yeah, what's the approximate buffer between the towns?
Going from building to building, it is /size 824 meters. Correction. 805. It's about 800 meters building to building.
That's big enough that's a big enough gap that it doesn't make sense to include to take as a part of like an expansion project. So in that case, I would say either a denial, but you are allowed to build the road. I'd be okay with that, or a flat out denial is probably more appropriate.
Yeah.
Is he in chat right now?
Yeah, he's in chat, but yeah, say if PTLD, if you were working on Armada and actively expanding westward, then that could make sense. Okay.
Yeah, and I will say there's about 275 meters between the end of the buildings and the end of the road grid.
Oh, he just left.
Okay, so that puts it about 500. Yeah, I'd say I'd want Armada to be expanded westward another couple hundred to get that closer to the buffer before I would consider transferring it either as a part of Armada or as full ownership.
John G,
but
if you actually want to go ahead and actually do the IAT as well, I'd probably be more up to it, because again, I don't mind giving a town some ways away to somebody if they've got an actual plan for it that's specific, like your plan of I will expand the redstone system and actually build is much more of a plan than I'll just get it to councillor, build a road, and without offering any real substance to it.
Yeah, and then abandon it again.
This seems like with the massive redstone system and just how everything is very freaking interconnected. It's a pretty promising idea, and I'd like to see somebody who actually knows redstone take it.
Yeah.
Oh, so what the hell's
Okay,
happening?
so it sounds like
server had a quick.
Yeah, John,
Bit of a hiccup.
submit that to the ISM. I'm just judging by your idea, I'd be interested to.
Well, I know John is mainly doing it for the rail too, because they're doing the rail expansion.
Oh yeah, that too. But John, I think John Gee's a bit of a redstone nerd, so it wouldn't make sense. Jesus Christ, everybody's connection is terrible.
No, the wiki's also lagging too.
TPS 15.
Yeah,
Somebody check the smoke detectors at OVH again, then, please.
No.
I'm snooping of. Please shut down Nevada elevator. Okay, no, yeah, everybody seems to be doing normal stuff. There's no like massive redstone contraptions going on.
Yeah, it seems okay. Elite, I'm going to rule that Nevada elevators are illegal.
Permanently or just now?
They're annoying, and I really don't like them. So
I'm trying to get the minutes down for Dawn. So we're saying no on IAT, but
You
do
know,
we confirm?
IAT,
Are we gonna? We are gonna allow him to build a road if he wants to, right? That's if he
Yes.
chooses.
Does he need to repropose that?
Holy mother of lamb scar.
Does he need to remake a proposal for that B road?
Sorry, that was a to Volp. The distance we said if he's connected to the existing road systems.
How is this?
Hello?
So normally we say like that you need a proposal if you're going more than 500 between towns. So I would say that we can pre-approve that road now.
Even
And
though
just send the route by email, but I'm okay pre-approving it now.
even though that town is inactive and technically doesn't have permission from that person. That's
Well, no,
fine.
like we're giving the permission now. I
Yeah,
think
it's
just
like a bypass with extra steps.
I mean, normally this doesn't
Yeah,
happen,
it-
but yeah, but
But normally we would just like the inactive town bypass type thing.
okay, if you're
Also,
okay.
normally we wouldn't have an explicit note from the mayor saying they want a connection and where they want.
Oh
the
wait, no,
connection.
you're right. It's different because of the connection versus the bypass. Oh, that makes it. a whole
Yeah,
different
this is
thing.
an actual connection to the town.
We do have an
Okay.
somewhat explicit wording though, that the mayor does actually want a connection. So we have that argument.
Well, it's seemingly explicit, but honestly, it's just a theory, and we wouldn't know for sure unless someone ever spoke to him.
It's a bit weird for some random.
I'm inclined.
and just
I've changed my mind. I'm inclined to just say no to the whole thing. This seems way too complicated.
It does seem a bit weird though, like for some random guy at some point in like the span of like a year or before our last core protect dump.
No, I don't think that was placed by anyone other than Beasky. I'm just saying that the interpretation that he's inviting anyone to build to his town is just a theory, and it's possible that it could have been placed with some different meaning.
Yeah, it could be like instead of neighboring town, it could mean not Armada. I guess it could. Yeah, I'll decline.
This seems like a whole can of worms. I'm inclined to just say no.
They torpedoed the proposal. Wonderful.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
And that's it.
That's the meeting.
Hey,
How long was that? 2 hours.
2 hours 15 in total, less than 2 hours in public.
Hey, Also, that was.
I will
Whitehouse.
read the trustee meeting notes, and then CC will take questions.
Oh,
Chief
I need to be
Officer
back.
teleportation is able to just bring me to you.
Chief TP.
You can TP to me because I'm gonna read them. Oh, hang on.
You
You're
I gotta
disabled
turn
them
that
yet.
back on.
you can do. I don't know if
Admins-
mods have access to /TPO, but
No, we
Mods
don't.
can't.
Oh,
No.
right.
Admins can TPO. I've turned it back on. Okay. The MRT Trustee Association notes are as follows. The nominations are so the nominations for trustee. 1. Map of Central Link near Spawn, approved. 2. Jamie and Tanaka Shigeru for trustee, denied. 3. Urban Freeways for trustee, approved. 4. Bob the Builder for premier, no record of vote. 5. The Honorable Richard Anderson, former CEO of Amtrak and former CEO of Delta Airlines, New York Stock Exchange, DAL, for trustee, approved. The Silver Mineral for trustee, approved. Pi and 3.14 and so on, equivalent, for trustee, approved. Blue Transit for trustee, tie 3-3, speaker denies. 9. The Tyne Bridge for trustee, approved. 10. Abbreviated version of the original motion, nominate the RRMJTSEFAHRS for trustee, approved. 11. The Friends We Make Along the Way for trustee, approved. 12. The Barshad Abtalat Chancellor Program for trustee, approved.
Well, you're not going to read out the bracketed name.
Barshid Abtits. This stream, I apologize to anyone who's tried to have a family-friendly stream. 13. The Right Venerable NASA Space Shuttle, quote, Endeavor for trustee. General motions. 14. Sendai will never, ever, ever be a part of Central City and is reduced to a bedroom community. Voted 2-1, but denied because the speaker says so. That's not how democracy works.
Also, it's still... It's got a central link station, so it's part of Central City. That's the one counting.
15. Amugas is a dead meme. Approved 3-1. 16. Pi is declared to have a value of 3.2. Denied. 17. All trustees are legally mandated by trustee law to save big money at Menards, and any trustee who visits Menards and spends a stupid amount of money shall be executed by the state. Approved. This one doesn't have a number. PTLD is Tulsi Gabbard. 18. Speaker Elite Neon is a meanie pants. Ties 1-1. Speaker denies. 19. Quebec with a leftward accent over the E is the official spelling of Quebec. Denied. 20. Motion to file a legal complaint against MBS for illegally using Impactist Cartoon Network music. Approved. That's it.
Well, no, there's another page. Wait, no, there's
more pages, but they don't matter.
He left out my proposal. Boo. Boo on you, Elite.
So, time for you to sue him. Okay, Sissy, you get to take questions now while I can put this in the Boapic library.
Fun times. Ping away and meeting.
Yes, please ping CC in the meeting channel.
Oh God, why is there a mess of minecarts?
You weren't supposed to be there, Elite. Let me turn TV off.
Question to the community: do you guys actually find the trustee staff meeting or trustee meeting funny? Like, yeah. I just don't get it. It just doesn't seem. It seemed like a waste of time. But...
Well, that's the fun part.
To some people, random still equals funny. So.
Honestly, I want to go back to the 20 questions thing. That was more fun than this.
Why not both?
I mean, if we can propose it in the trustees can propose it at their next meeting.
But none of the thing they propose is binding. Nothing is binding.
It's all about trustee law. So
everybody knows trustee law is actually a real binding law of the MRT, and that GSMs are actually just a front for the trustee meeting.
I mean, at the end of GSMs, whenever Q&A is over, Cyamathes, he's asking if they're allowed to ask Frumple now about vetoes.
Not during the Q. I'm not going to tell you Well, I think it'd be better if we have a private conversation first. If you ask for a veto, I'll let you know, and then I'll make a public announcement about it. So, but yeah.
So you say, but can people DM you now if they want to know?
You can DM me now if you want to indicate your intent to talk with me. And
but you're not going to actually talk till after GSM is physically
until after
over,
GSM,
right?
Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's fine.
Elite wants to say his question verbally.
So that means you get to unmute him.
There.
Hi. Is the Nevada elevator ruling final? Because, and let me just get through this. The Nevada elevator in Mackinac in my apartment building has been running nonstop for 4 days with no negative effect on the TPS, and the shutdown of the current one was just a precaution.
Defer to Chief on that.
So Elite, are you, when you say it's been running continuously, does it go up and automatically restart to go back down and vice versa, or is it button triggered and then it stops?
Like fully automatic.
Okay. What I mean though, Elite, is does it stop completely and then you have to press a button to start it again in the other direction?
No, it does not. It
just
system.
keeps going.
It's a looping
That's
system until I say otherwise.
Okay, that's illegal. Because we generally
really?
require it. Yep, we generally require, if you're going to build a redstone contraption that includes a clock or a timer or something that goes in a loop, you have to be able to start and stop it.
It has a start
pretty
stop
easily.
button. It has a start stop lever. It has another one at the top. It also has two emergency start buttons when the redstone wonked up.
So I would say then, I mean, for the sake of performance, it would be a lot better if it was just you press the button, it goes all the way up, or it goes all the way down, and then the whole system just stops and then remains steady until the next time someone presses the button again.
No, that's the thing. It has no effect on performance because there was no effect on performance during November.
How do you know that? Elite, how do you know that?
I've been running for 4 days, and I've been on all 4 of those days. And
for the last 4?
Yeah, last 4. It's been running.
Yeah,
it's only stopped now.
The last 4 have not had a whole lot of traffic, of player traffic.
And it also, with that, it also depends, like, just because it's not lagging doesn't mean it's not impacting server performance. Even if it's just like a hit of 0.1 TPS, that's still a hit.
Yeah, well, plus it's a cumulative effect. If everybody was to run a Nevada elevator 24/7, then
and also you might say it's been running 24/7, but it actually hasn't, because those chunks haven't been loaded 24/7 or 24 continuously since you started it. So in reality, it's only actually running while you're there, which now, granted, again, the actual impact on performance is going to be a lot lower with that, but I don't want to set the precedent that that's okay. The precedent that I have held since 2012 is if it's a timer, it has to be able to be stopped very easily. And like it should either stop itself or like that's basically it. Like it needs to be able to stop itself or be a fairly short running thing that doesn't do a whole lot. Because again, I don't want a lot of people getting the idea that it's okay to just build these and let them rip all the time, because that's gonna cause a problem. So
in that case, I'll yield my time and drop the issue, and I'll have you shut down.
Okay, thank you.
There, put server mute back on.
Don't server mute. Just put just Elite, if you could remute yourself, because CC server mute applies to all channels and it's weird.
Oh, weird.
Dinty, that already is not allowed. If you're talking about candidates responding to if you're talking about candidates responding to things coming in, yeah, I guess that's different.
I'm gonna ask a question to Dinty. Why do you think it? In what way does it undermine the process? Like, could you explain more your reasoning on that? So if it was someone nominating themselves, which we don't allow, of course, yes, I would agree with you in that sense. But there's also a thing of, here's a scenario I want you to consider, Dinty. What if someone provides evidence, either by actually it wouldn't be a nomination, but provides evidence against a candidate, but the candidate knows that evidence might not be actually accurate. or essentially fake news.
Or is being taken out of context.
Taken out of context, or in a really worse case, fabricated. Which, I mean, could be possible. I'm not sure if that's ever happened before, but you never know. Like, in those sorts of situations, I feel like the candidates should have the right to be able to defend themselves and provide evidence refuting that.
I mean, this happened to me personally in my nomination channel when Otto got the wrong thing. I think there is, I mean, I agree that candidates should have the right to respond. Like, I responded and I cleared it up with Otto. I think there is a difference between, like, responding, which is what Wipeout did, but then he also cited a bunch of, like, not related evidence about, like, here are some examples of me actually being, like, good at, which, I mean, yes, it is related because Kyle did show an example of him not being good at these skills. So he was trying to say, like, here are some examples of me improving on these skills. However, I think that it's just kind of strange to, like, just include that random evidence that's not related to the specific incident.
I think in those cases, Dalt, I think if say a Wipeout or whatever candidate does that, that should be called out too. Like, I'm trying to, as much as the candidate is different from everyone else, but I think everyone has their like
I was just trying to clarify what I think Dinty was saying, because I don't think Dinty is trying to say that Wipeout shouldn't have responded. I think he's saying that, like, what Wipeout included a lot of extraneous maybe evidence that could have looked like a self-nomination after he finished responding to Kyle.
I would go with a different kind of example of, say, Cosmin, whenever they put the wiki example. Like, that was completely not really asked for, and they put that in their channel. I think maybe that is that kind of what T might be mentioning here.
So, hold on. Thanks.
Is
Dinty, are you asking us to enforce that? Because that's different from. There's a difference between us staff enforcing that versus other people calling it out. Which, honestly, I prefer the latter. Because if we do enforce it, that does kind of open a bit of box. Like that opens a Pandora's box too. Okay, that's fair.
I have an unrated question after this whole thing. Let me know when I can voice that.
I mean, if you think that a candidate is grandstanding, I guess that's a way to describe it. I mean, I think it's fair to say, yeah, this seems a bit much, right? The point of the process is to be as honest as possible, even if it's, not something you usually say to someone, but you're just being honest about how they're coming off as, basically.
Might as well ask this now.
Does that? I don't know if that answers your question or not, but yeah.
Okay, cool.
When are the next rounds of staff audits coming up?
If we're doing them annually, then it'll be in the fall. Another 6
I wouldn't mind
months.
semi-annually either. I mostly just want feedback on myself now.
Well, because we're not doing discussion channels, I'm gonna have to rethink how that's gonna work now, because it might have it'll be email feedback at the moment based on.
Mega might just do a form.
Yeah.
Personally speaking, I'd much rather than just be a discussion, because I do think it's supposed to be a discussion with the person themselves. Like, what can I do better? And let's talk about that. I feel like if we were to move to email only for that, we would lose that benefit.
Okay. Okay, I'm also gonna. Oh, sorry, Volp, go ahead.
No, you go.
I'm also just gonna say right now, I have been receiving some private messages from Wipeout. He is declining the moderator position for the next GSM. He may be considering it for GSMs after, but he's not sure. He does also say he's going to write up some thoughts in a statement that may be sent privately or publicly. He's not sure.
Okay.
But I'm just going to let people know that right now.
Skelly,
those things.
We'll get to that. That's fine.
Yeah, we haven't really been doing the one-on-ones.
We haven't really
I'm
been doing that all
honestly,
that much.
I'm not sure how successful they are because it's more.
I don't know if we've ever actually done them.
I never had one.
Yeah.
I never had one.
I think
Perhaps
it's
that's
also
something
because,
that we should. Sorry, go
I think
ahead.
it's also because like people said they wanted to do it, and then we had October happen, and that kind of threw everything out the window for several months. Well, the admins tried to regroup.
I think that's part of it, but even before October, we weren't even doing them anyway. Honestly.
Yeah.
I'm actually more leaning toward this may not be the as good an idea it is, and usually you see that at work at other organizations. I'm not sure if it's the best fit for us. Maybe we need to think of something.
I thought the audits were kind of replacing them.
No, they're not replacing them all. The point of the one-on-ones between mods and admins is just to keep it just if they have if mods have any concerns or staff have any concerns, like you can do it, and it's just to enforce that you can do this at any time too. This policy was more trying to make it scheduled, but obviously we forget to do that. So
yeah, I mean, if you look on the staff contact list, the public got access to this. If you look on one of our internal documents, each staff member can nominate their preferred admin for a one-on-one meeting. Currently, only 3 people have done that, and 1 person has listed Godzilla Train.
Oops. So yeah, I don't know. We'll have to rethink that at some point.
Yeah.
I don't know. Godsall Train can still do it.
Any other
Mr.
questions?
Tell me from an admin's perspective how I'm doing.
Any other questions that anyone has?
It's a silly question this time.
It's less. It's just something I want to bring up quickly. I'm not sure whether this warrants DSM topic in itself. I think I tried putting community towns onto the town list as we would with any other town, just with the rank being listed as community.
That's
we
fine.
have a separate tab for it, I believe. Right?
They should be documented somewhere.
Yeah, I think to me it makes more sense to list them with the other towns.
Either way's fine. Okay. Any other questions? Otherwise, I think we're gonna roll back the area here.
We got a lot of money with GSM. It's great.
Yeah. So is that official authorization? Yes, community towns can go on the town list.
Yes, do it.
Okay, good.
Sounds good. Thank you all.
Anyone want to screenshot or otherwise memorialize this town? Because I'm going to prepare to roll it back.
Screenshots now. I could submit this to the MRT vision thing as like a freaking joke, I suppose.
Should have signed up for that this year, and I completely forgot.
Just call it "I hate this server" and just submit it as that.
Okay. CO rollback. Our world edit.
Not yet. There's one thing I want to take a picture of. Legend of Yuka built a really nice bar, and I want a picture.
Running the rollback in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Goodbye.
Rollback started. Oh God.
Jeez.
Oh no.
There's flag everywhere.
What the fuck?
Oh God, it's the Nevada elevator. It's come back with the vengeance.
The Nevada elevator truly is come out for us.
Okay, that's it for the meeting. Thanks, everybody.